The rain on planet Vex 7 fell in thick drops that sizzled against the ground. Hana Kim stood at the edge of the research station's security fence, her scanner beeping softly in her hand. She was supposed to be collecting soil samples, but the readings on her device showed something else entirely, something alive. She pushed through the tall purple grass, her boots sinking into the wet earth. The scanner's beeping grew faster. 30 meters ahead, 20 meters, 10. Then she saw them, 3 small bodies huddled together beneath a fallen tree. At first, Hana thought they were dead. Their crystalline armor plates were dull, covered in mud. But then one of them moved, and she heard a sound like broken glass scraping together. They were crying. Hana had studied the Karathi for 2 years. She knew they were the most feared predators in this part of the galaxy. Adults stood 8 feet tall with 4 arms and natural armor that could stop most weapons. Their empire controlled 15 star systems, and they were known for their warrior culture. But these were not warriors. These were babies. The largest one lifted its head. 4 golden eyes stared at her. Hana could see fear in those eyes. The creature made a weak hissing sound, trying to seem dangerous. It failed. The little thing was shaking. Hana slowly knelt down. She put her scanner away and held out her empty hands. "It's okay," she whispered. "I won't hurt you." The Karathi cub watched her carefully. Behind it, the 2 smaller ones pressed closer together. They were so young that their armor plates hadn't fully hardened yet. Hana could see their breathing was shallow and quick. They were in bad shape. She reached into her pack and pulled out her emergency medical kit. Moving very slowly, she took out a thermal blanket. The cubs flinched when she moved, but they were too weak to run. Hana spread the blanket on the ground and gently pushed it toward them. The largest cub touched the blanket with one clawed hand. Warmth radiated from the special fabric. After a moment, it pulled the blanket closer and wrapped it around itself and the smaller ones. They made soft chirping sounds. Hana smiled. "There you go. That's better, isn't it?" She tapped her communicator. "Hana to base. I need a medical transport to my location. Immediately." Static crackled. Then a male voice responded. "Hana, this is Minho. What's wrong? Are you injured?" "No, Commander. But I found 3 Karathi cubs. They're in critical condition. I'm bringing them in." There was a long silence. "Repeat that. Did you say Karathi cubs?" "Yes, sir. They're alone and dying. I'm not leaving them out here." "Hana, you know the protocol. We don't interfere with native species, especially not the Karathi." Hana looked at the 3 small creatures huddled under her blanket. The smallest one had closed its eyes. Its breathing was getting weaker. "Protocol doesn't cover abandoned children, Commander. I'm bringing them in. Send the transport or I'll carry them myself." Another pause. "Fine. Transport is on the way. But this is on you, Hana." "Understood." 10 minutes later, a small hover vehicle arrived. Jiho Kong was driving. He was the station's head of security, a tall man with a permanent frown. He looked at the cubs and shook his head. "You're making a big mistake." "Help me load them or get out of the way," Hana said. Jiho sighed, but helped her lift the cubs onto the transport. They weighed less than Hana expected. Up close, she could see how thin they were. Their ribs showed through gaps in their armor plates. Back at the station, Minho was waiting in the medical bay. He was a careful man who always followed the rules. Seeing him nervous made Hana nervous too. Standing with him was Taiho Lim, the station's medical officer. Taiho immediately began scanning the cubs. "Severe malnutrition," Taiho said. "Dehydration, possible infection in the smallest one. They haven't eaten in days, maybe a week." "Can you save them?" Hana asked. "Maybe, if we act fast." Taiho started connecting IV lines to the cubs. They were too weak to fight him. Minho crossed his arms. "Hana, do you understand what you've done?" The Karathi Empire has strict laws about their young. If we're caught interfering, they were dying, Commander. They're predators. This might be natural selection. The weak die in their culture. Hana stepped closer to Minho. They're children. I don't care what species they are. Children don't deserve to die alone in the mud. Taiho looked up from his work. She's right, Commander. Look at these injuries. These cubs were attacked. This wasn't natural. Someone tried to kill them. Minho leaned over to examine the cubs more closely. Now that they were under the bright medical lights, Hana could see scars on their armor, burns, cuts, wounds that were starting to heal. Someone hurt them on purpose, Hana said quietly. Minho rubbed his face. This is bad. This is really bad. If these cubs are important, if someone wanted them dead, we might have just put ourselves in the middle of a Karathi civil war. Then we need to contact the Karathi government, Hana said. Tell them what we found. Let them sort it out. I'll try. Minho didn't sound hopeful. But the Karathi don't always respond to human communications. They might ignore us. Over the next several hours, Hana stayed with the cubs. Taiho had stabilized them, but they were still weak. She sat beside their medical beds and talked to them softly. She knew they probably couldn't understand her words, but her voice seemed to calm them. The largest cub opened its eyes. It looked at Hana for a long time. Then, very slowly, it reached out one small hand. Hana took it carefully. The cub's grip was weak, but it held on. You're safe now, Hana whispered. I promise. Jiho entered the medical bay. His expression was grim. Commander wants you in the communications room, now. Hana gently released the cub's hand and followed Jiho. In the communications room, Minho was staring at a display screen. Sora Choi, the communications officer, looked frightened. What is it? Hana asked. Minho pointed at the screen. It showed a scan of the space around Vex 7. Multiple ships were approaching the planet. Big ships. The Karathi government hasn't responded to our messages, Minho said. But someone heard us. We've got incoming vessels, and they're not broadcasting friendly signals. Who are they? Hana asked. We don't know, but they're heavily armed, and they're headed straight for us. Hana felt her stomach drop. They're coming for the cubs. That's my guess, Minho said. Whoever tried to kill those cubs the first time is coming to finish the job. How long do we have? Sora checked her instruments. At their current speed, they'll reach orbit in 6 hours. They could land troops in 7. Hana turned to Minho. We need to evacuate. Get those cubs off this planet. Already requested emergency transport, Minho said. But the nearest ship that can carry everyone is 3 days away. 3 days? We have 7 hours. I know. Minho looked at her. I'm sorry, Hana, but this is what I warned you about. We're a research station. We have minimal defenses. If those ships are hostile, we can't hold them off for 3 days. Hana felt panic rising in her chest. She thought of the 3 small creatures lying in the medical bay. They had survived being attacked once. They had survived days alone in the wilderness. They had survived just long enough for her to find them. She couldn't let them die now. Then we make them wait, Hana said. We defend this station until help arrives. Jiho laughed, but there was no humor in it. Defend? With what? We have 6 security personnel and some basic weapons. If those are military ships, then we do our best, Hana interrupted. Those cubs are alive because someone failed to kill them the first time. I'm not going to let anyone succeed now. Minho studied her face. Then he nodded slowly. All right. Jiho, gather everyone. If we're doing this, we need to prepare. Sora, keep trying to reach the Karathi government and send out a general distress call. Maybe someone else is close enough to help. As everyone moved to their tasks, Hana walked back to the medical bay. The 3 cubs were sleeping now, their breathing steady. They looked peaceful. Hana sat down beside them and took the largest one's hand again. "I found you," she whispered, "and I'm not letting you go." Outside, the first of the hostile ships entered orbit above Vex 7, their weapons powered up, targeting the small research station below. The countdown had begun. The station's alarm woke everyone at dawn. Hana jerked awake in her chair beside the Cubs' beds. She had fallen asleep watching over them. Now red lights flashed throughout the medical bay, and a mechanical voice repeated the same message. "Alert! Incoming vessels! All personnel report to stations." The Cubs were awake too. Their golden eyes were wide with fear. The smallest one was making a high-pitched whining sound. "It's okay," Hana said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Stay here. Stay quiet." She ran to the command center. Minho was already there, along with Jiho, Sora, and most of the station's 23 personnel. Everyone looked scared. "Status," Minho ordered. Sora's fingers flew across her controls. "5 ships in orbit. They've deployed 4 landing craft. Estimated touchdown in 15 minutes. They're landing in a circle around us." "So we're surrounded before they even arrive," Jiho muttered. "Perfect." "Any response from the Karathi government?" Minho asked. "Nothing," Sora said. "But I did get a response to our general distress call." She pulled up a message on the main screen. "It's from something called the Elite Guard. They say they're responding to our emergency, but they're 48 hours away." 48 hours? Hana repeated. "We need to survive for 2 days." "We won't last 2 hours," Jiho said. He pulled up tactical displays showing the station's defenses. "We have perimeter shields that can maybe stop small arms fire. We have 6 people trained in security. Our weapons are designed to scare away wildlife, not fight an army." Minho looked around the room. "I'm not ordering anyone to stay. If you want to run, take a transport and head for the wilderness. Hide. Maybe they'll only care about the station." Nobody moved. Yuna Lee, the station's engineer, spoke up. She was young and usually quiet. "Those Cubs didn't ask to be here. Hana saved them. I'm not running." Others nodded. Hajun Nam, one of the junior researchers, was shaking, but he said, "I'll stay too." Hana felt tears in her eyes. These people were choosing to fight for 3 alien children they had never met until yesterday. "Thank you," she whispered. "All right then," Minho said. "We make our stand. Yuna, boost the shields as much as you can. Jiho, arm everyone who can hold a weapon. Sora, keep transmitting our situation. Maybe that elite guard can move faster. Hana..." "I'm staying with the Cubs," Hana said. Minho nodded. "Take Taiho. Get them to the reinforced medical bay in the basement. That's the most protected part of the station. If they breach our defenses, that room might hold a little longer." The landing craft touched down exactly when Sora predicted. Through the external cameras, Hana watched as armored figures emerged. They were Karathi, but different from the Cubs. These were full-grown warriors, massive and intimidating. Their armor gleamed even in the dim morning light. They carried weapons that looked far too advanced for a simple research station to face. One Karathi stood taller than the others. His armor was decorated with symbols that Hana didn't recognize. He stepped forward, and his voice boomed from external speakers. "Humans of this station, you harbor fugitives. 3 young ones who were marked for death. You will surrender them immediately, or you will die with them." Minho activated the station's external communication system. His voice didn't shake. "This is Commander Park Minho. Those Cubs were abandoned and dying. We provided medical assistance as per our ethical obligations. We have contacted the Karathi government." The tall Karathi laughed. "The government is weak. I am Doran of the Bloodclaw faction. Those Cubs are heirs to the High Commander. With them dead, my clan takes control. Your government means nothing here." Hana gasped. The Cubs were heirs? They were the children of the Karathi's supreme leader? "You're trying to murder children to steal power," Minho said. That's your culture? Your honor? Doran's voice turned cold. Honor is for the strong. You have 1 hour to surrender the young ones. After that, we take them by force. You cannot stop us, human. The communication cut off. In the basement medical bay, Hana helped Taiho move the cubs to reinforced beds. The cubs seemed to sense the danger. They pressed close to Hana, their small hands gripping her clothes. The largest cub looked up at her face. Its eyes asked a question it couldn't speak. I won't let them take you, Hana said. She hoped she was telling the truth. Taiho was checking his medical supplies. If fighting reaches us down here, I don't have anything that can sedate them enough. They'll be awake and terrified. Then we keep them calm however we can, Hana said. The hour passed too quickly. Hana heard explosions above her. The attack had begun. Jiho's voice came through the intercom. They're hitting the perimeter shields. Yuna says we can hold for maybe 20 minutes. Then they'll breach. 20 minutes became 15, then 10. The explosions got louder. The lights flickered. Hana held the cubs close, singing softly to them. It was a song her mother had sung to her when she was little. The cubs seemed to like it. Their shaking slowed. Then the lights went out completely. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. Shields down, Jiho reported. His voice was tight with stress. They're at the outer doors. Hana heard weapons fire, shouting. The sounds of fighting echoed through the ventilation system. The cubs whimpered and buried their faces against her. It's okay, she lied. Everything's okay. More explosions. Closer now. Taiho grabbed a medical laser scalpel, the only weapon he had. His hands trembled. Footsteps pounded in the corridor above. Someone screamed. Then silence. The intercom crackled. It was Minho. They're through the outer defenses. Jiho is wounded. We're falling back to the intersections. Hana, lock that door and don't open it for anyone except me or Jiho. Understand? Understood, Hana said. I'm sorry, Minho said. We tried. I know. Thank you. Commander. The connection went dead. Hana locked the medical bay door. It was heavy metal, designed to survive a disaster. But she could hear cutting tools starting up on the other side. They would get through eventually. The cubs knew it too. They made sounds like crying, pressing even closer to Hana. The smallest one was shaking so hard its armor plates rattled. Taiho stood by the door, his makeshift weapon ready. When they come through, get behind the beds with the cubs. I'll try to slow them down. Taiho, you can't. Someone has to, he said simply. The cutting continued. Sparks showered from the door. A hole appeared, growing larger. Through it, Hana could see armored figures moving. Then she heard something that made her heart leap. Weapons fire, but from a different direction. Shouting in the Karathi language. The cutting stopped. Jiho's voice burst through the intercom. Something's happening! There's fighting between Doran's forces! Some kind of internal conflict! His words cut off with the sound of an explosion. The lights flickered. The station shook. More explosions, but these were bigger, different. Sora's voice came through high with hope. Ships! Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. They're broadcasting Karathi Elite Guard codes. The Elite Guard. They had come, but the door to the medical bay burst open at the same moment. Doran himself stood there, massive and terrifying. His armor was scorched. He looked angry. Behind him, Hana could see bodies. Some were his warriors. Some were her friends. No more delays, Doran snarled. He raised a weapon the size of Hana's torso. The cubs screamed. Hana didn't think. She threw herself forward, putting her body between Doran and the cubs. She spread her arms wide, making herself as big as possible, trying to shield all three of them. You'll have to go through me, she said. Doran stared at her. For a moment, something like confusion crossed his face. Why? They're not your kind. They're not even your species. Why would you die for them? Hana thought of her mother's song, of quiet nights and gentle hands, of what it meant to protect something small and helpless. Because they're children, she said. That's enough. Doran's weapon powered up. The sound filled the room. So be it, he said. Behind Hana, the cubs pressed against her back. She could feel their rapid heartbeats through her clothes. She closed her eyes. The weapon fired. Pain exploded through Hana's chest. She fell to her knees but didn't move aside. The cub screamed again. Doran fired a second time. This shot hit her shoulder. She felt her arm go numb. "Stay back!" Hana gasped to the cubs. "Stay behind me!" Doran aimed again. "Stupid human! You can't protect them. You can barely stand." He was right. Hana's vision was going dark at the edges. She could feel blood soaking through her clothes, but she didn't move. She stayed on her knees, arms still spread, blocking the way to the cubs. "I don't have to protect them forever," Hana whispered. "Just long enough." The ceiling exploded. Armored figures dropped through the hole like falling stars. These Karathi moved faster than anything Hana had ever seen. Before Doran could react, they were on him. The medical bay filled with the sounds of combat. More elite guard warriors poured through the broken door. They engaged Doran's remaining forces. The fighting was brutal and quick. Hana collapsed forward. She couldn't hold herself up anymore. Strong hands caught her. She looked up and saw a Karathi warrior with different armor. Medals covered his chest. His eyes were old. "The cubs," Hana tried to say. Blood filled her mouth. "Are safe," the warrior said. His voice was deep and sad. "You protected them. We're here now." "Too late," Hana whispered. She could feel herself fading. "You came too late." "I know," the warrior said. "I'm sorry." Behind him, the cubs were crying. They pushed past other warriors and threw themselves at Hana. Their small hands touched her face, her arms, trying to make her better. Hana smiled. She reached up with her one working arm and touched the largest cub's face. "You're safe now," she said. "That's all that matters." The world went dark. Darkness. Then pain. Then Hana's eyes opened. She was still in the medical bay, but now it was chaos. Doran's warriors were everywhere. Taiho was on the ground, not moving. The door that was supposed to keep them safe hung in pieces. Hana tried to sit up, but agony shot through her body. She looked down and saw blood. So much blood. Her uniform was torn where the energy weapons had hit her. The wounds were bad. But behind her she felt movement. The cubs were alive. They were pressed against the wall, their golden eyes huge with terror. The smallest one was crying, that broken glass sound filling the air. Doran stood in the doorway. His weapon was still glowing hot from the shots that had hit her. Behind him, more of his warriors were pushing into the room. "Persistent human," Doran said, "but futile. Move aside or die. Your choice." Hana looked at the cubs. The largest one was trying to be brave, holding the other two behind it. But it was shaking. They all were. They had survived one attempt on their lives. They had survived days alone in the wilderness. They had survived just long enough for someone to care. And now someone did care. Hana grabbed the edge of a medical bed and pulled herself up. Her legs barely held her weight. Every breath felt like fire in her chest. But she stood. "No," she said. Doran's eyes narrowed. "What did you say?" "I said no." Hana took a step backward, closer to the cubs. "You want them?" "You go through me first." One of Doran's warriors laughed. "You're already dying, human. One more shot and you're dead. What's the point?" Hana spread her arms wide. Her blood dripped onto the floor. "The point is that someone has to stand between monsters and children. Today, that's me." Doran raised his weapon. "Brave words. But words don't stop plasma." The weapon charged. That horrible whining sound filled the room. Hana didn't close her eyes this time. She stared at Doran, refusing to look away. The shot took her in the stomach. Hana screamed. The pain was worse than anything she had ever felt. She fell against the wall, but kept her arms spread. The cubs were right behind her, pressing against her back. "Please," the largest cub whispered in broken human language. "Please run." Hana wanted to cry. The little thing had learned human words just from listening to her. It was begging her to save herself. "Can't," Hana gasped. "Won't leave you." Doran fired again. This shot hit her leg. Hana collapsed to one knee. The world spun. She could feel her body shutting down. Too much damage, too much blood loss. But she didn't fall aside. She stayed between the cubs and their killer. "Fascinating," Doran said, tilting his head. "I've killed hundreds, but I've never seen someone refuse to move when they're clearly dying. What drives you, human? What makes you think 3 alien cubs are worth your life?" Hana coughed. Blood splattered on the floor. "You wouldn't understand. Try me." Hana looked back at the cubs. They were huddled together, all 3 sets of eyes on her. They were so small, so young. They had their whole lives ahead of them. "They're children," Hana said simply. "In any language, in any species, that's sacred. You protect children, even if it costs everything." "Weak philosophy," Doran said. "The strong survive, the weak die. That's the law of nature." "Then your nature is broken," Hana said. Doran's expression hardened. "Enough talk." He aimed his weapon at Hana's head. "Last chance. Move or die." Above them, there was a sound like thunder. The whole station shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Doran glanced up, distracted for just a second. That's when the smallest cub did something incredibly brave and incredibly stupid. It darted forward and bit Doran's leg. Doran roared and swung his weapon around, away from Hana, toward the cub. "No!" Hana threw herself forward. She was too wounded to stand. So she crawled. She grabbed the small cub and pulled it back, covering it with her body. Doran's shot meant for the cub hit Hana's back instead. The pain was beyond description. Hana felt something break inside her, but she held on to the cub, keeping it safe beneath her. The other 2 cubs rushed forward. They tried to pull Hana back, their small hands grabbing at her arms. They were crying, all 3 of them making sounds of pure grief. "Stop," Hana whispered to them. "Stay back. Let me—" Another shot. This one hit her shoulder. Hana's right arm went completely numb. She couldn't feel it anymore. "Remarkable," Doran said, lowering his weapon. "You can't even stand. You can barely move, yet you still try to shield them. Why? What do you gain?" "Nothing," Hana admitted. The room was getting fuzzy. She was losing too much blood. "I gain nothing. That's not why you do it." "Then why?" Hana smiled, even though it hurt. "Because if I don't, who will?" Doran stared at her for a long moment. Then he raised his weapon one final time. "You're either the bravest or the stupidest creature I've ever met." "Both," Hana said. The weapon charged. But before Doran could fire, the ceiling exploded inward. Huge chunks of metal and concrete crashed down. Warriors in different armor dropped through the hole, moving with impossible speed. The elite guard had arrived. Everything happened so fast that Hana could barely follow. The new warriors attacked Doran's forces with brutal efficiency. Weapons fire lit up the room. The sound was deafening. Hana felt hands on her. Someone was checking her wounds. A deep voice spoke in the Karathi language, urgent and commanding. "Get the heirs to safety, secure the area, and someone help this human." Through her failing vision, Hana saw Doran fighting. He was good, but he was outnumbered. 3 elite guard warriors surrounded him. The fight was short. Doran fell. The cubs were screaming, not in fear this time, but in grief. They were trying to reach Hana, but the elite guard warriors were pulling them back, checking them for injuries. "Let them," Let them come, Hana gasped. The warrior holding her looked down. His armor was covered in metals. His face was old and scarred. You're dying, he said quietly. You've lost too much blood. Our medical technology can't save you. Not with these wounds. I know, Hana whispered. Let me see them, please. The warrior hesitated. Then he nodded. He spoke a command, and the warriors released the cubs. They rushed to Hana immediately, their small hands touching her face, her arms, anywhere they could reach. Safe, Hana said, smiling at them. You're safe now. That's good. That's all that matters. The largest cub was crying, making sounds Hana had never heard before. It pressed its forehead against hers. Stay, it said in broken human language. Please stay. Can't, Hana said. But you'll be okay. You're strong, all three of you. Be brave. The smallest cub, the one she had saved with her body, wrapped its arms around her neck. Its whole body shook with sobs. Other humans were entering the room now. Hana recognized Minho. He was wounded but alive. Jiho was there too, leaning on Yuna for support. They all had tears on their faces. You did it, Minho said, kneeling beside her. The cubs are safe. You saved them. Hana. We saved them, Hana corrected. All of us. You fought too. Not like you, Jiho said. His voice was rough. We fought to survive. You fought to protect. There's a difference. The old elite guard warrior was speaking into a communicator. High Commander, the heirs are secure, but there's something you need to see. A hologram appeared in the air above them. The largest Karathi Hana had ever seen materialized in blue light. He wore armor that looked ancient and incredibly valuable. This was the High Commander, the cub's parent. He looked at the scene. His children covered in Hana's blood, crying over her body. The human woman, torn apart by weapons, still trying to smile for them. What happened here? The High Commander asked. The old warrior, whose name Hana learned was Vexnar, explained everything. How they had received the distress call, how they had pushed their engines beyond safety limits, trying to arrive in time, how they had still been too late to prevent this. She shielded your heirs with her body, Vexnar said. Multiple direct hits. Any one of them should have killed her instantly, but she stayed standing. She refused to move. Even when she couldn't stand anymore, she crawled to protect them. The High Commander stared at Hana. Why? Humans and Karathi have always been distant. We're not allies. We barely trade. Why would you die for my children? Hana's vision was almost gone now, but she could still see the cubs' faces. That was enough. Because they needed someone, she whispered, and I was there, that's all. That's all? The High Commander repeated. You gave your life. That's not all, that's everything. Hana felt herself fading. The pain was distant now. She was so tired. Tell them I'm glad I found them. Tell them to be happy. The largest cub pressed its face against Hana's cheek. Don't go, it begged. Have to, Hana said, but you'll remember me, and I'll remember you, even after. The world went dark again. But this time, Hana wasn't afraid. She had done what she needed to do. The cubs were safe. That was enough. Her last thought was of the first time she had seen them, small and scared under that fallen tree. She had held out her empty hands then, showing she meant no harm. Now she held out her life, showing she meant every promise she had made. The cubs were still crying when Hana Kim breathed her last breath. Their protector was gone. The human who had stood between them and death was no more, but they were alive. Because of her, they were alive. In the days and years to come, the galaxy would learn what happened in that medical bay. They would learn about the human who absorbed 23 direct plasma shots and refused to fall, who crawled when she couldn't stand, who smiled even as she died. They would learn that sometimes Courage isn't about being strong. Sometimes, courage is about being too stubborn to move when someone small needs you to stay. Vexnar stood in the destroyed medical bay and felt something he had not felt in 40 years of service. Failure. Around him, his warriors were securing the area. They moved with practiced efficiency, checking every corner, every shadow. They were the elite guard, the best of the best. They had never lost a principal under their protection, but they had lost someone else today. The human woman lay on the floor, still and quiet. The three heirs were beside her, refusing to leave. They made sounds that Vexnar had never heard cubs make before, sounds of grief too deep for words. One of his warriors approached. Her name was Kira, and she had served with him for 20 years. Her face was grim. "Commander, we've counted the shots. 23 direct hits. Any one of them should have been instantly fatal to a human." "But she kept standing," Vexnar said quietly. "For 17 of them, yes, sir. The last 6 hit her when she was already down. She crawled to shield the smallest heir when it attacked Doran." Vexnar knelt beside Hana's body. He had seen many warriors die. He had held friends as they breathed their last. But this was different. This woman was no warrior. She had no training, no armor, no reason to fight, except one. "Get me the station's recording systems," Vexnar ordered. "I want to see everything that happened." 10 minutes later, he watched the footage. The other humans gathered around, including the wounded commander named Minho. They all watched in silence as the events replayed. They saw Hana finding the cubs in the wilderness, saw her gentle approach, her patience, saw the cubs slowly trusting her. They saw the attack, saw the station's defenders falling one by one, saw Hana refusing to abandon the cubs even when escape was possible. They saw Doran break into the medical bay, saw Hana spread her arms and make herself a shield, saw her take shot after shot, each one tearing through her body. Saw her smile at the cubs even as she died. When the footage ended, Vexnar's warriors were silent. Several had tears on their faces. Karathi didn't cry often, but this was beyond anything they had seen. "She had 40 seconds to run," Kira said, her voice thick with emotion. "After Doran entered, before he raised his weapon, she could have escaped out the side door, saved herself." "But then the cubs would have been exposed," Vexnar said. "Yes, sir. So she chose them over her own life." "Yes, sir." The High Commander's hologram appeared again. The real High Commander was still hours away, traveling as fast as his ship could move, but he had been watching the same footage from his ship. "Commander Vexnar," the High Commander said. His voice was heavy. "You received the distress call 48 hours before you arrived. Correct?" "Yes, High Commander." "Why did it take so long?" Vexnar felt the words like a physical blow. "We were on patrol at the edge of Sector 7. Maximum speed from that position is 47 hours and 12 minutes. We pushed our engines past safety limits. We arrived in 47 hours and 32 minutes. We were 20 minutes faster than possible, but still too late to save her." "Yes, High Commander, we were too late." The High Commander looked at his children. They had finally been convinced to move away from Hana's body, but they kept looking back at her. The largest cub was holding something. Vexnar realized it was Hana's identification badge. "What was her name?" the High Commander asked. "Hana Kim," Minho said, stepping forward. "She was 29 years old. She was a xenobiologist. She loved her work. She loved learning about other species. She believed that understanding each other was the key to peace." "Tell me about her," the High Commander said. So they did. Minho, Jiho, Taiho, Sora, Yuna, Hajun, all the surviving station personnel. They told stories about Hana, about her laugh, about how she would stay up late studying reports, about how she always had time to help others, about how she sang to herself when she thought no one was listening. "She was kind," Taiho said, even to people who didn't deserve it. She believed everyone deserved a second chance. She was brave, Jiho added. I didn't think she had it in her. I was wrong. She was stubborn, Minho said with a sad smile. When she decided something was right, nothing could change her mind. Not protocol, not logic. Not even death. The High Commander listened to everything. Then he spoke to his children. Come here. The three cubs approached the hologram. They still looked traumatized. The smallest one hadn't stopped shaking. What she did for you, the High Commander said, is the greatest gift one being can give another. She gave you life at the cost of her own. Do you understand? The largest cub nodded. She saved us, even when it hurt, even when she was scared. She wasn't scared, the smallest cub said quietly. I felt her heartbeat. It was steady. She was calm. Vexnar looked at the cub in surprise. Calm? While being shot? She was happy, the middle cub said. I heard her humming, between the shots. She was humming that song she always sang. The room fell silent, happy, while dying. While absorbing plasma fire that turned her body to ruins. She had been happy because the cubs were safe. We owe her a debt, the High Commander said, a debt that can never be repaid. Commander Vexnar, you and your forces will bear witness to what happened here. Make sure everyone knows. Make sure this human sacrifice is remembered. Yes, High Commander. And Commander, the High Commander's voice grew harder, I want a full investigation into response times. I want to know why the elite guard couldn't reach my children faster. High Commander, we pushed the engines. I know what you did, and it wasn't enough. This human had no training, no armor, no weapons, but she held the line for the time we couldn't. That's unacceptable. Vexnar felt the words like a knife. Yes, High Commander. The hologram flickered. I'll be there in 6 hours. Prepare my children for transport. And prepare the human's body for burial with full honors. She died protecting Karathi heirs. She will be honored as a Karathi. The transmission ended. Vexnar turned to his warriors. You heard the High Commander. Full honors. I want everything done correctly. They worked through the day. Medical personnel arrived and carefully prepared Hana's body. Her wounds were cleaned and covered. She was dressed in ceremonial cloth that bore the symbols of protection and sacrifice. The cubs refused to leave. They sat beside her, occasionally touching her hand or her face. They sang songs in the Karathi language, mourning songs, songs that were older than space travel. Minho brought Hana's personal belongings, photos of her family, a journal where she wrote her observations, a pressed flower from Earth that she kept on her desk. She left Earth 5 years ago, Minho said. Volunteered for deep space assignment. She wanted to see new things, meet new people, learn. She learned how to die with honor, Vexnar said. She already knew that, Minho replied. She just didn't know she'd need it so soon. When the High Commander finally arrived, the entire station was gathered in the repaired medical bay. The Karathi leader was even larger in person than in hologram. He entered slowly, his 4 eyes taking in everything. He went to his children first. They ran to him, and he held all 3 at once. They cried against his armor, telling him everything. Telling him about the human who found them, who fed them, who sang to them, who died for them. Then the High Commander approached Hana's body. He knelt, something Vexnar had never seen him do. He placed one massive hand on her small forehead. Thank you, the High Commander said simply. You saved them. You saved everything I love, and I wasn't here to help you. He stood and turned to the humans. Your species has earned something today. Respect, trust, alliance. The Karathi Empire owes humanity a debt we will spend generations trying to repay. We don't want payment, Minho said. Hana didn't do it for a reward. She did it because it was right. I know. That's what makes it matter. The High Commander looked at Vexnar. Commander, I want a memorial built here, where she fell. I want every Karathi warrior to know this story. I want them to understand what true courage looks like. Yes, High Commander. And I want the elite guard to never forget. You arrived too late. She died because you weren't fast enough. The words were harsh but true. Live with that. Learn from it. Make sure it never happens again. Vexnar stood at attention. It won't, High Commander. I swear it. But even as he said the words, Vexnar knew the truth. He would never forget. None of them would. They would see her face every time they closed their eyes. They would remember arriving just in time to watch her die. Too late. They were too late. And nothing they did from this day forward would ever change that fact. The cubs were given new names that day. Velkhana, Sharhana, Treenhana. They would carry her name alongside their own. They would make sure she was remembered. But for Vexnar and the elite guard, no name was needed. They already remembered. They would always remember. The human who held the line. The human they failed to reach in time. The human who showed them that courage doesn't require armor or weapons or training. Sometimes courage just requires love, and the stubborn refusal to let someone small face the darkness alone. Vexnar looked at his warriors. He saw his own failure reflected in their eyes. They were the elite, the best, the ones who were supposed to arrive in time. But they hadn't. And Hana Kim paid the price for their slowness with her life. Remember this day, Vexnar said to his forces. Remember her. And remember that we were too late. Let that never happen again. But deep down, he knew. No matter how fast they moved from now on, no matter how many they saved, they would never reconcile themselves with being too late to save her. 10 years had passed since that day on Vex 7. 10 years since Hana Kim died protecting 3 Karathi cubs. 10 years since the elite guard arrived too late. Vexnar stood before the memorial statue. It was made of crystal that caught the light and threw rainbow patterns across the ground. The statue showed a human woman with her arms spread wide, 3 small figures sheltered beneath. The artist had captured something in her face, not fear, not pain, peace. Still coming here? A voice said behind him. Vexnar didn't turn. He knew that voice. Kira, his second in command. She had been with him that day. She carried the same weight he did. Every year, Vexnar said, on this exact day. It's been 10 years, Commander. Maybe it's time to... To what? Forget? Move on? Vexnar finally looked at her. We were 20 minutes too late, if we had been faster. If our ships had been closer, if I had pushed harder, you would have destroyed the engines, Kira said gently. We ran calculations afterward. You know this. We were at the absolute limit of what was possible. Any faster, and the ships would have exploded. Then she still would have died, but at least it wouldn't have been because we were slow. Kira sighed. You've saved thousands since then. The new rapid response protocols, the faster ships, the training programs. Because of what we learned here, we haven't been too late again. But we were too late for her. They stood in silence. Around them, the research station had been transformed. It was now a training facility for the elite guard. Every warrior who wanted to join the guard had to come here, had to learn the story, had to understand what failure looked like. Footsteps approached, heavy ones. Vexnar knew who it was before he turned. 3 massive Karathi warriors walked toward them, but Vexnar still saw them as they had been, small, scared, covered in blood. Velkhana, Sharhana, and Treenhana, the heirs, now fully grown, now leaders of the entire Karathi Empire. The old High Commander had retired 5 years ago. He had given leadership to his children, the ones Hana saved. They ruled together, making decisions as a group. It was unprecedented in Karathi history. But then everything about them was unprecedented. Commander Vexnar, Velkhana said. He was the largest, the one who had held Hana's badge. "We knew you'd be here." "I come every year," Vexnar said. "We know. We've been watching." Sharhana gestured to the memorial. "You're not the only one who can't forget." "We remember everything," Treen Hana added. She was the smallest, the one Hana had crawled to protect. Her voice, her smell, the way she hummed when she thought we were sleeping. Velk Hana approached the statue. He placed one massive hand on it. 10 years we've ruled, 10 years we've tried to honor what she did, and still it doesn't feel like enough. "Nothing will ever be enough," Vexnar said. "That's the point." "Is it?" Velk Hana turned to face him. "Father says you blame yourself, that you never forgave yourself for being late. Your father is correct. But you did everything possible. You pushed beyond safe limits. You risked your own ships and crews. What more could you have done?" "Been faster," Vexnar said simply. Sharhana shook her head. "You're punishing yourself for something that wasn't your fault. Doran is the one who attacked. Doran is the one who shot her, not you." "I know that," Vexnar said. "Logically, I know that. But logic doesn't erase the image of her dying face. Logic doesn't change the fact that if we had been just a little faster, she might have lived. And if she had run, she would have lived too," Treen Hana said quietly. "But she didn't run. She chose to stay. That was her decision, Commander, not yours." Vexnar looked at the three leaders. They had grown strong, wise. They had changed Karathi culture in ways that would have seemed impossible before. They had made alliances with dozens of species. They had created new laws protecting the vulnerable. They had built schools and hospitals and peace treaties. All because one human woman decided they were worth saving. "Do you blame us?" Vexnar asked suddenly. "For being too late?" The three looked at each other. Velk Hana spoke for all of them. "We did. For a long time. We were children. We didn't understand. We thought you should have been there sooner. Thought you should have saved her. And now? Now we understand that you tried. That you did everything you could. That sometimes even your best isn't enough." Velk Hana's voice was heavy. "We've had to make decisions as leaders, hard decisions. We've sent warriors into danger. Some of them died. We did everything we could, but they still died. We understand now. The weight of being too late. The burden of not being able to save everyone." "It doesn't get easier," Sharhana said. "We still see their faces. Still wonder if we could have done something different. Still come to places like this." Treen Hana gestured to the memorial. "Still try to make sense of senseless loss." Vexnar felt something shift in his chest. These three understood. They carried the same weight he did, the weight of command, the weight of responsibility, the weight of people who died on their watch. "She would be proud of you," Vexnar said, "of what you've become, what you've built." "We hope so," Velk Hana said. "That's all we can do, live in a way that honors her sacrifice." A young Karathi warrior approached, moving cautiously. He was fresh from training, barely an adult. "Excuse me, leaders. Commander Vexnar, I don't mean to interrupt." "What is it?" Vexnar asked. "I just completed my training. I came to pay respects." The young warrior looked at the statue with something like awe. "Is it true? Everything they taught us? She really took 23 shots and kept standing?" "It's true," Kira said. "But she was human, no armor, no enhancements. How?" "Because she loved them," Vexnar said, pointing to the three leaders. "That's how. Love is stronger than armor, stronger than weapons, stronger than death." The young warrior stared at the statue. "I want to be like that, like her, strong enough to protect others no matter the cost." "Then you understand why we come here," Velk Hana said. "This isn't just a memorial. It's a reminder of what real courage looks like." The warrior saluted and moved away to study the statue more closely. He wasn't alone. A dozen other warriors were scattered around the memorial. Some were sitting quietly, some were reading the inscriptions. All of them were learning. "This happens every day now," Trine Hanna said. "Warriors come from across the empire. They spend hours here, learning, thinking, changing." "She's saved more lives dead than most warriors save alive," Sharhana added. "Every warrior who learns her story fights differently, thinks differently. They don't just fight for victory. They fight to protect." Vexnar's communicator buzzed. He checked it and saw a priority alert. "Emergency call. Colony under attack." Immediately, his training took over. "Kira, mobilize response team 3. I want ships in space in 5 minutes." "Already moving, sir," Kira said, her own communicator active. Velkhana stepped forward. "How far?" 40 minutes at maximum speed," Vexnar said. "You'll make it," Velkhana said with certainty. "How do you know?" "Because you always do now. Ever since that day. You've never been too late again." Vexnar looked at the statue one more time. "I can save 1,000 people. 10,000. 1,000,000. But it doesn't bring her back." "No," Trine Hanna agreed. "But it means her death mattered. It means she changed things." Vexnar turned to leave, but Velkhana stopped him. "Commander, one more thing. Stop punishing yourself. She wouldn't want that. She smiled when she saw you arrive, remember? Her last words were about being glad we were safe. She didn't blame you. So stop blaming yourself." "I'll try," Vexnar said. But they both knew it was a lie. He would carry this weight forever. The mission was successful. Vexnar's team arrived in 38 minutes. They saved everyone. The attackers were driven off. No one died. But later, alone in his quarters, Vexnar still saw her face, still heard her voice, still remembered arriving just in time to watch her die. 1 year later, the annual memorial. Vexnar stood before the statue again. This time, hundreds of others stood with him. Warriors, civilians, humans, Karathi, other species. All of them had come to remember Hana Kim. The 3 leaders spoke. They told stories. They shared what they had learned from her. They announced new initiatives, more alliances, more protections, more peace. A human delegation was there, Hana's family. Her mother was old now, her father using a walking stick. But they stood proud. Their daughter had changed the galaxy. "Thank you," Hana's mother said to Vexnar, "for remembering her, for honoring her." "I could never forget," Vexnar said. "I was there when she died. I carry that with me every day." "She was always like that," Hana's father said. "Even as a child. She would fight for anyone who needed help. Didn't matter who they were. If they were hurting, she wanted to help. She helped the most important people in the galaxy," Vexnar said, gesturing to the 3 leaders. "To her, they were just 3 scared children," Hana's mother said. "That's all that mattered." The ceremony ended. People dispersed, but Vexnar stayed. He always stayed until everyone else left. "Still here?" It was Velkhana, returning after the crowd left. "Always," Vexnar said. "We brought something." Velkhana gestured, and his siblings approached. They carried a small box. "What is it?" Trine Hanna opened the box. Inside was a badge. Hana's identification badge, the one Velkhana had held 10 years ago. "We've kept this, but we think it belongs here, with her." They placed it at the base of the statue. It looked small next to the massive crystal structure, but somehow it felt right. "She was small too," Sharhana said, "but she was bigger than all of us when it mattered." Vexnar knelt and touched the badge. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm sorry we were too late. I'm sorry we couldn't save you." "Commander," Velkhana said gently, "she would forgive you. She already has. The only person who hasn't forgiven you is you." I know. Then maybe it's time. Maybe after 10 years, it's time to let go of the guilt. Vexnar stood. He looked at the three leaders, at the statue, at the badge, at everything Hana had left behind. I can't, he said honestly. I've tried, but every time I close my eyes, I see her. Every time we respond to an emergency, I push a little harder, because maybe this time I can be fast enough. Maybe this time I won't be too late. You haven't been too late once in 10 years, Kira pointed out. She had been standing nearby, listening. Because I remember what being too late costs, Vexnar said. I remember her. And as long as I remember, as long as I carry this weight, I'll keep pushing. I'll keep trying. I'll keep making sure no one else has to die because we were slow. The three leaders looked at each other. They understood. This wasn't about forgiveness. This was about purpose. Hana's death had given Vexnar a mission. It had given all of them a mission. Never again. Never be too late again. Then we carry it together, Velkhana said. All of us. We remember her. We honor her. And we make sure her death changed the galaxy. It already has, Vexnar said. Years continued to pass. The memorial grew. More statues were added, more inscriptions. The story spread across the galaxy. Different species told it in different ways. But the core remained the same. A human woman. 3 Karathi cubs, 23 shots, and a love strong enough to face death without flinching. Vexnar kept coming back, every year, sometimes alone, sometimes with others. He watched new warriors learn the story, watched them change because of it, watched Hana's legacy grow. He saved thousands more. His rapid response protocols became the standard across multiple species. Other militaries studied his methods, copied his training, adopted his philosophy. Never be too late, always push harder, always remember what it costs when you fail. But in the quiet moments, in the nights when sleep wouldn't come, in the times when he stood before that statue alone, Vexnar still whispered the same words. I'm sorry we were too late. I'm sorry we couldn't save you. And somewhere, maybe Hana heard. Maybe she understood. Maybe she knew that her death had saved more than just 3 cubs. Maybe she knew that she had changed the heart of a warrior who would spend his whole life trying to make sure no one else died waiting for help. Maybe she smiled. The way she had smiled that day. Content. Peaceful. Knowing that what she did mattered. Vexnar would never know. He would never stop wondering, never stop carrying the weight of being too late. But he would also never stop honoring her, never stop trying, never stop being the warrior she deserved to have by her side that day. And in that, maybe there was peace. Not forgiveness, not forgetting, but purpose. The memorial stood tall on Vex 7. A crystal statue of a small woman with arms spread wide, 3 figures safe beneath, and at its base a simple badge with a name. Hana Kim, xenobiologist, guardian, hero. The human who held the line. The human the elite guard never stopped mourning. The human who taught them all what it meant to be too late and why they must never let it happen again.